Hello everyone and welcome to the Atles channel. Here I will be reading all the stories I've written through the years. As you might guess, English is not my first language, but I will try and make this pleasant experience for you nonetheless. And I hope you have some oversights with some errors I might be doing in pronunciation or choosing of words. For the first story I have chosen Two Friends. It's a story I wrote a couple of years ago for my very oldest friend. Enjoy.
Two Friends, written and read by Atles.
The old canvas sails filled with wind and the boat was slowly gaining momentum. The sun stood high, and as we felt the movement we were pleased. Not happy, because happy demands expectation, and we had none. The old wooden boat would go if it wanted and where it wanted, and we could only make slight suggestions through the rudder and the alignment of the sails. Sailing brings peace like nothing else, and old wooden boats do this the best. Maybe this is an odd hobby, we once thought. Young men in the 21st century should do other things. But then again, we had grown up around boats, and looked with pity on those who had not. We were at home now, old friends saying nothing and moving forward. Yesterday's short summer rain had left the morning air so fresh and clear you felt as though you could see and hear everything in or around the sea. God, I loved it all. The sun was alone in the sky, and the warmth it radiated made the tar between the boards of the boat soften and smell of a distant time. I had one of those moments when you are touched by the same feeling as in a childhood memory, and it is of innocence, happiness, and comfort. I am not an old man, but I know that moments like these are seldom encountered, and a small stab followed, knowing that this too will soon be over. We did not know the time, nor did we care. It was morning now, and it would soon be noon. These waters are blessed with a timelessness. The thousands of small islands and the red granite poking through the surface has stayed the same since long before this time. Old swells from the night storm far out in the open sea rocked our boat gently. We were on our way to town. We had agreed this morning that it should be Friday, and as the summer was closing in on its peak, the old town would be filled with tourists, and therefore all the cafes, bars, and restaurants would be open. The promise of a wild and unpredictable night made me want to get there faster. I pushed those thoughts aside. Now was now, and soon enough winter would be here. And I would miss this more than I'd be missing the bars. The unrelenting heat made us first drink all the water we had left, and when we were through with the last canteen, we both decided it was around noon. We took a can of beer each from the net trailing the boat. The beer was not cool, because the water was about 23 degrees Celsius, but it was cooler than the water we'd been drinking and softer than the sun-filled air. I am a very pale man, blonde hair and blue eyes, and because of my lack of pigment, I often turn into what looks like a cooked lobster at the first rays of sunshine. We had some lotion, but I was already burnt and said to myself, if the cancer gets me, I'll still have this. As we sailed on, a seagull flew over us, inspecting the boat and its passengers. We raised our cans to the bird, which responded with a dignified nod and then flew its way. While the boat was moving forward, our beer cans disappeared one by one, and the sun passed its zenith. We both felt hunger disrupting our sun-like state. In the big wooden box at the rear of the ship lay a couple of delicacies. We had no plans on getting ashore on one of the many islands, and we both distrusted fire on boats. So I dove into the old box and fished up 2 cans of conserved pea soup. I opened the lids, and the almost solid mush made itself noticeable to sight and smell. Pea soup straight from the can. If you eat it in the winter, at work or at home, it's filled with angst and looked down upon. Now it was a convenient freedom. After we made a toast to the sea god, thanking him for the weather, we enjoyed cold, solid pea soup and warm beer. After the feast, I fell asleep, laying midships and with nothing more than a slow clock of the sea meeting the hull. I was awakened by a kick in the back. We were closing in on the canal crossing, and my friend needed me to tend to the motor while he steered the boat in the crowded waters. I connected the rubber hose to the gas tank and pumped fuel into the small motor hanging outside the boat next to the rudder. The machine was so small I needed no other starting aid than the strength of my arm. I closed my right hand around the soft grip at the end of the long string coiled up inside the small motor and gave it a stern pull. The engine started and I felt the deep satisfaction of doing something so well. It only needed one try. The passing of the canal also meant we were about 3/4 of an hour from town. I shook our old thermos, but the coffee was gone, the last of it this morning. The only thing we had left were more beer and cigarettes. But those suited the scenery much better, and I was happy we at least had that. Soon we passed the last bend of the last island, and the sun stood at a lower angle, and the evening wind told us we had arrived just in time. The marina was of course filled with tourists, and their plastic tubs trying to pass off as boats. Distant music ricocheting between the masts made us aware of the fact that the yearly festival was in full swing. This made us happy, because we could have been wrong about the day, but there would still be people in movement. And it made us sad, because during the festival it is near impossible to get a table anywhere. Since the marina was packed, we sailed along the shoreline for another 10 minutes or so, to the older part of the whole harbor area, where there were no designated places for boats to be tied up. We were no tourists, and we had an old wooden boat, so we could squeeze in right about anywhere. Our small craft fit perfectly in between two boathouses, and soon we were perfectly safe from the wind and from the biggest of the waves. We jumped into the water by the side of the boat. It was about nipple high, and soon we had made ourselves as fresh as possible in the stuffy harbor waters, and changed into somewhat clean clothes. Feeling at our best, we headed towards the music, passing the old silversmith and noticing his dog wasn't barking, and thus he wasn't home. We did not have our phones with us. They had died a couple of days ago. We were heading into the night as though facing a wave, stern first and with confidence. You have been listening to Two Friends by Atles. I do hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more stories coming soon.